Learning never exhausts the mind. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Time stays long enough for anyone who will use it. Every action needs to be prompted by a motive. Life well spent is long. Life is pretty simple. You do some stuff. Most fails. Some works. You do more of what works. If it works big, others quickly copy it. Then you do something else. The trick is the doing something else. The motive power is the cause of all life. Where there is shouting, there is no true knowledge. He who thinks little errs much. Intellectual passion drives out sensuality. The noblest pleasure is the joy of understanding. All our knowledge has its origins in our perceptions. Nothing strengthens authority so much as silence. As a well-spent day brings happy sleep, so a life well spent brings happy death. Learning acquired in youth arrests the evil of old age. He who wishes to be rich in a day will be hanged in a year. Common sense is that which judges the things given to it by other senses. Experience does not err. Only your judgments err by expecting from her what is not in her power. I love those who can smile in trouble, who can gather strength from distress, and grow brave by reflection. 'Tis the business of little minds to shrink, but they whose heart is firm, and whose conscience approves their conduct, will pursue their principles unto death. Just as courage imperils life, fear protects it. Our life is made by the death of others. I have been impressed with the urgency of doing. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Being willing is not enough, we must do. The truth of things is the chief nutriment of superior intellects. I have offended God and mankind because my work didn't reach the quality it should have. While I thought that I was learning how to live, I have been learning how to die. He who loves practice without theory is like the sailor who boards ship without a rudder and compass and never knows where he may cast. Man and animals are in reality vehicles and conduits of food, tombs of animals, hostels of death, coverings that consume, deriving life by the death of others. A beautiful body perishes, but a work of art dies not. Where the spirit does not work with the hand, there is no art. Art is never finished, only abandoned. God sells us all things at the price of labor. Make your work to be in keeping with your purpose. Blinding ignorance does mislead us. Open your eyes. Nature never breaks her own laws. I awoke, only to find that the rest of the world is still asleep. Study without desire spoils the memory, and it retains nothing that it takes in. I love those who can smile in trouble. One can have no smaller or greater mastery than mastery of oneself. The noblest pleasure is the joy of understanding. The knowledge of all things is possible. As you cannot do what you want what you can do. Life without love is no life at all. The artist sees what others only catch a glimpse of. Where the spirit does not work with the hand, there is no art. Obstacles cannot crush me. Every obstacle yields to stern resolve. Once you have tasted the taste of sky, you will forever look up. He who possesses most must be most afraid of loss. Learning is the only thing the mind never exhausts, never fears, and never regrets. Details make perfection, and perfection is not a detail. Wisdom is the daughter of experience. He who truly knows has no occasion to shout. If there's no love, what then? Nature never breaks her own laws. Painting is concerned with all the 10 attributes of sight, which are darkness, light, solidity and color, form and position, distance and propinquity, motion and rest. The painter who draws merely by practice and by eye, without any reason, is like a mirror which copies everything placed in front of it without being conscious of their existence. Anyone who conducts an argument by appealing to authority is not using his intelligence. He is just using his memory. The length of a man's outspread arms is equal to his height. It's easier to resist at the beginning than at the end. As every divided kingdom falls, so every mind divided between many studies confounds and saps itself. There are 4 powers, memory and intellect, desire and covetousness. The 2 first are mental and the others sensual. The 3 senses, sight, hearing and smell cannot well be prevented. Touch and taste not at all. I have found that, in the composition of the human body as compared with the bodies of animals, The organs of sense are duller and coarser. Thus, it is composed of less ingenious instruments, and of spaces less capacious for receiving the faculties of sense. There is no object so large but that at a great distance from the eye it does not appear smaller than a smaller object near. The Medici created and destroyed me. I have wasted my hours. Just as food eaten without appetite is a tedious nourishment, so does study without zeal damage the memory by not assimilating what it absorbs. Why does the eye see a thing more clearly in dreams than the imagination when awake? You can have no dominion greater or less than that over yourself. Marriage is like putting your hand into a bag of snakes in the hope of pulling out an eel. You do ill if you praise, but worse if you censure what you do not understand. Medicine is the restoration of discordant elements. Sickness is the discord of the elements infused into the living body. The greatest deception men suffer is from their own opinions. The poet ranks far below the painter in the representation of visible things, and far below the musician in that of invisible things. Who sows virtue reaps honor. It had long since come to my attention that people of accomplishment rarely sat back and let things happen to them. They went out and happened to things. Beyond a doubt, truth bears the same relation to falsehood as light to darkness. Many are they who have a taste and love for drawing, but no talent, and this will be discernible in boys who are not diligent and never finish their drawings with shading. Men of lofty genius, when they are doing the least work, are most active. There are three classes of people: those who see when they are shown, those who do not see. Poor is the pupil who does not surpass his master. I have always felt it is my destiny to build a machine that would allow man to fly. Weight, force, and casual impulse, together with resistance, are the four external powers in which all the visible actions of mortals have their being and their end. It seems that it had been destined before that I should occupy myself so thoroughly with the vulture, for it comes to my mind as a very early memory. When I was still in the cradle, a vulture came down to me. He opened my mouth with his tail and struck me a few times with his tail against my lips. The beginnings and ends of shadow lie between the light and darkness, and may be infinitely diminished and infinitely increased. Shadow is the means by which bodies display their form. The forms of bodies could not be understood in detail but for shadow. In order to arrive at knowledge of the motions of birds in the air, it is first necessary to acquire knowledge of the winds, which we will prove by the motions of water in itself, and this knowledge will be a step enabling us to arrive at the knowledge of beings that fly between the air and the wind. The divisions of perspective are three, as used in drawing. Of these, the first includes the diminution in size of opaque objects. The second treats of the diminution and loss of outline in such opaque objects. The third, of the diminution and loss of color at long distances.